Hello everyone, myself Dr. S. Mohammed Nazeer. This class I am going to teach you microeconomics. In microeconomics, theories of value. Before we study the theories of value, it is imperative to know the meaning of value. What is value? The value of a commodity means its power of commanding other commodities in exchange. I repeat, the value of a commodity means its power of commanding other commodities in exchange. It means the rate at which the commodity exchanges for others. Value has two different meanings. Number one, value in use. Number two, value in exchange. Value in use means the usefulness or utility of a commodity. Utility of a commodity is value in use. Value in exchange means the purchasing power of a commodity. Purchasing power of a commodity is value in exchange. Utility of a commodity is value in use. In economics, value is used to mean value in exchange. Okay, now theories of value. There are so many theories are there. Let us discuss a few important theories. Labor theory of value. The labor theory of value was developed by English economist Adam Smith, David Ricardo, J.S. Mill, but credit goes to Adam Smith. According to Adam Smith, the value of a commodity depends upon the amount of labor spent to produce it. I repeat, according to Adam Smith, the value of a commodity depends upon the amount of labor spent to produce it. This is the labor theory of value. The criticism of this theory. It is very difficult to measure labor. This theory is one-side theory because this theory explains value from supply side. It neglects the demand side. Now, Ricardian theory of value. According to this theory, value of a commodity is determined by cost of producing it. Cost of production consists of rent paid to the landlords, wages paid to the laborers, interest paid to the capitalist, and normal profits paid to the entrepreneur. If the price of a commodity rises above the cost of production, entrepreneur makes abnormal profit. Hence, new firms will enter into the industry. Therefore, supply increases. As a result, price falls until it equals the cost of production. If producer makes losses, a new factories may leave the industry. Hence, supply falls. As a result, price rises until it equals the cost of production. Hence, cost of production determines the value of the commodity. So, automatic mechanism equals the cost of production and the value of the commodity. So, according to this theory, the value of the commodity is determined by cost of production. Criticism of this theory. If the commodity produced does not possess utility, nobody buys it. Hence, entrepreneur will not get anything. So, cost of production cannot determine value. This is the first criticism. This theory does not explain the price of goods which cannot be reproduced. So, this is the second criticism. The third criticism, it does not explain the value of joint products like cotton and cotton seed, because some amount of labor is needed in a ginning factory. So, it is very difficult to calculate the cost of production for cotton and cotton seed. So, this is the criticism of Ricardian theory of value. Now, the marginal utility theory of value. According to this theory, the value of a commodity is determined by its utility. The greater the utility, the greater the value. Jones improved this theory. According to him, the value is determined by marginal utility of the commodity. Criticism of this theory. The main criticism of this theory is that marginal utility cannot be quantitatively measured. This is the main criticism. So now the Marshallian theory of value. According to this theory, both utility and cost of productions determine the value. That is, Marshall theory of value combines marginal utility with cost. According to Marshall, the forces behind both demand and supply determines the value. Behind demand is marginal utility and behind supply cost. I repeat, behind demand marginal utility and behind supply cost. Therefore, marginal utility and marginal cost of production that determines the value of the product. This is called a Marshallian theory of value. Now, Mill's theory of value. J.S. Mill refined the Ricardian theory of value. Like Ricardo, he stated that the value of commodity depends mainly on the quantitative labor required for their production. Later on, he held the view that wages enter into the value. Finally, he accepted cost of production theory of value. Profits as well as wages enters into the cost of production, which determines the value of the commodity. According to Mill's theory of value, profits as well as wages enter into the cost of production. This cost of production determines the value of the commodity. Market period or very short period. The market period is a very short period in which the commodities are perishable and the supply of such commodities being fixed, that is to say, perfectly inelastic. The supply is fixed, that is to say, perfectly inelastic. This time period may be an hour, a day, or a week, or a days. For example, if the demand for commodities like vegetables, flowers, meat, fish, egg, fruits, milk increases, its supply cannot be increased on the same day. Since the supply of such commodities is fixed, its price is determined by the demand on that day. The price prevailing in the market period or very short period is called as the market price. In other words, market price is that prices which is determined by the forces of demand and supply in the market at a point of time. The market price is determined by interaction of market period demand and the supply curve as shown in the diagram. X-axis represents demand and supply and Y-axis represents price. SS is the supply curve, which is vertical straight line. Since the supply of perishable commodities is fixed and cannot be changed. So this is the vertical straight line. The supply of commodity is fixed and it cannot be changed. DD is the demand curve. Both these curves intersect each other at point E, the equilibrium point, and the market price is OP is determined. This is the equilibrium. This is the equilibrium price. The price is the OP. If the demand increases from DD to D1, the new equilibrium point is E1, and the price increases from OP to OP1. On the other hand, if the demand decreases from DD to D2, the price also falls from OP to OP2. Thus, in a very short period, the price is determined by demand alone since supply is fixed. So, this is a fixed supply curve. When the demand increases, the price will increase. When the demand decreases, the price will decrease. Let's see the short period. The short period may be of a few months in which the supply can be changed in accordance with demand. This is possible by changing the variable factors only. This means in the short period, it is not possible to change the fixed factors. There are two factors, fixed factors and variable factors. In short period, we can change the variable factors. Therefore, the supply can be changed to match the change in demand by changing the variable factors only. In this time period, the commodity is non-perishable and also reproducible. The short period supply curve slopes upward from left to right, that is relatively inelastic. The short period price or the short run price is determined by the intersection of the short period demand curve and the short period supply curve. The short period price is also known as the short-run normal price. This can be shown in the diagram. In the diagram, x-axis represents demand and supply, y-axis represents price. DD is the short period demand curve and SS is the short period supply curve. Both these curve intersects. DD is the short period demand curve, SS is the short period supply curve. Both intersect at point E. This is the equilibrium point at which the equilibrium price is OP determined and ON quantity demanded. OP and ON. ON quantity, OP is the price. If the demand increases from DD to D1, this is the new demand curve. The new equilibrium point is E1. Hence, the price increases from OP to OP1 and the new equilibrium quantity of demand and supply increases from ON to ON1. Since supply is fixed in the market period, it is not possible to increase the supply, but it is possible to increase the supply by changing variable factors such as labor and raw materials. So, the labor and raw materials are variable factors. This short-term price is higher than the market price. So, now the price is P1. This short-term price is the higher than the market price. Now, long period. The long period is a period in which supply can be fully adjusted to demand. This is done by changing the fixed factors like machines, equipments, plants, scale of production, organization, and management, etc. In the long period, new firms can enter the industry and old firms can leave the industry. Therefore, in the long run, the supply curve tends to become relatively elastic. More changes will take place in the supply. It is called relatively elastic. The long run price is determined by the intersection of long period demand curve and the long period supply curve as shown in the diagram. The long period price is also known as normal price. In the diagram, x-axis represents demand and supply, y-axis represents price. DD is the original long-run demand curve and SS is the long-run supply curve, which is relatively elastic. Both intersect at point E, the equilibrium point. At this point, the equilibrium price OP is determined and ON is the quantity demand and the supplied. This is the original long-run demand curve and original long-run supply curve. This is the equilibrium point, this is the price, and this is the demand and the supply. In the market period or very short run, the firm can sell only what they have already produced. But in the long period, firms will have a tendency to increase the supply and this will cause a change in supply curve. The increased supply curve is S1, S1. This is the new supply curve. S1, S1. And the increased demand curve is D1, D1. Both these curves intersect each other at point E1, the equilibrium point. This is the new equilibrium point. The equilibrium point at this point, the equilibrium price is OP1 determined ON1 amount of quantity demanded and supplied. This is the new price P1 and the new demand and supply is ON1. Now a very long period. Very long period or secular period is a period of more than 10 years. Very long period or secular period is more than 10 years in which changes in demand fully adjust themselves to supply. The basic difference between long period and very long period is that in very long period, we do not take into account the commodities and services, but a change in the supply of factors of production, since it is not possible to estimate the changes in demand due to changes in techniques of production, population, raw materials, etc. Over a very long period, Marshall did not analyze pricing. So, under very long period, Marshall did not analyze anything. In this class, we've seen different varieties of theories of values. Thank you.